Welcome. We will continue learning about how to deliver an engaging talk, yeah, engaging talk in general, and and many like of these slides that I will be presenting here would be based on the work of Melissa Marshall. Okay, uh, so by the end of uh, like by the end of this video, you should be able to describe the universal quality of an effective presenter of research, of science, of generally. So, is there universal quality for an effective presenter? Yes. Are there? Does this quality exist? Yes, that's what we will learn about them, and that's what I want you to be able to describe by the end of this video. Yeah. But more importantly, I want you to deliver an audience-centric presentation. And to deliver an audience-centric presentation, that's the main focus of this lesson is that we will learn like two uh, audience-centric presentation technique. First of all, what we will learn, like we will learn first, what does it mean by like a presenter-centric presentation versus an audience-centric presentation, and then we will learn two techniques to make your presentation more audience centric. Yeah. And as I mentioned, these two techniques are based on the work of Melissa Marshall. Yeah. And these are like a snorkeling statement and assertion evidence as we will learn them. Okay. So without further ado, let's just get started. Yeah. Uh, so we you evaluated the presentation before, yeah. You learned like about successful presentation. To be successful in a presentation, you need to understand like the purpose of the presentation. So the purpose of the presentation, what is it? Obviously to communicate your idea. That's like the first purpose, but the most important is in order to effectively communicate your idea, you have to engage your audience. It's like watching a good movie, you are engaged. Yeah. Anyway, so now we will move to what I will be doing next. Like I will be showing you some audience centric techniques, yeah, and some slide design tips that will help you to deliver like a successful presentation. Yeah. Uh, and so that is like this video, and that's like the next video. Okay, so let's just get started. So what is the effective, what quality do effective, again like here I'll just put this between quote, effective like presenter have, like any effective presenter, what do you think would be the good quality? So what I want you to do before we discuss this, I just want you to pause this video, brainstorm, and just like pause the video and answer this question on your Canvas quiz. So Canvas, like you can just go to Canvas, you can open the Canvas quiz for this week, and I just want you to, before we do this, I want you to write down what are what do you think would be the effective, what do you think would be the uh, quality of effective presenter, like the effective presenter will have. Yeah. So I want you to do this and then come back and we will discuss. Okay. Okay. So welcome back. Let me tell you like what is the most important universal quality that effective presenter will have, and that would be enthusiasm. He is passionate and enthusiastic about the topic that he is presenting. So if he is like so much interested in what he's presenting and so much enthusiastic about what he's presenting, he will like transfer this zeal or this enthusiasm to you. So I would say that will come at the top of my list. Yeah. Now, what else do I think the top like So I'm trying to answer this question before I see what I have here on this slide. Yeah, so that's my answer. Yeah, so my answer would be first one would be enthusiasm. Second one would be simplicity. He is simple. He is presenting whatever he is presenting in its most simple form. No complication, no complexity. Uh, Sometimes what you are presenting is very complicated, just as the presentations that I gave you at the previous video is very dry and complicated technical details, but somehow I was able to simplify it, or I tried my best to make it like as simple as possible. Yeah. So that would be like, so enthusiasm, that would be my first answer. Simplicity, that would be simplicity and clarity. Yeah, simplicity slash clarity. That would be my second answer. And I cannot really think of, of like any other quality that I would like rate as a top quality for like for a universal presenter. Like I mean, third quality, which is related to simplicity and clarity, is that you have a good sense of your audience. You know what are your audience, what do they know, what they don't know, what they are interested in, what they are not interested in. So you have a very good sense of your audience and the expectations of your audience, and based on this sense of your audience, you try to deliver something for them. uh, Again, not all the audience need to understand everything fully. I don't know if this is even possible, or that would even be like an effective presentation. But at least most of your audience should be at least be able to understand like more than 50% or 60 or 70% of what you are presenting. Yeah. And maybe, uh, I mean, I don't know what percent, but I'm just giving this number. Yes. At least most of your audience should be able to understand at least like 70%. Yeah. Like, or like 70%, and maybe few of like, and then many of your audience should be able to understand like most of what you are presenting, and like 90%, and maybe like one or two of your audience could like will understand, like will be able to fully understand what you're presenting. But uh, again, you don't expect everyone to fully understand everything, but like but at least one or two of your audience should fully understand what you are presenting. Yeah? Otherwise that will not be effective. So I think that would be like my top answer, like enthusiasm, uh, simplicity and clarity, and have a good sense of your audience. But let's see what do I have on my list here. So what I have on my list here is enthusiasm, storytelling of a narrative. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, okay. So like an effective scientific presenter, he will be telling you a story. Just as I did in this like mock presentation, I was telling you a story about soil respiration and how this pulse was there, and how we will able to come up with a hypothesis about like the formation of this like perch pulse or whatever. And I was walking you through this story and providing evidence for our hypothesis. Yeah. So you have like a telling a story or a narrative. Similarly, if I'm talking about like a groundwater sustainability presentations, that's one of my main like research areas. And I try to, depending on what I'm presenting, I try to make it a story with a narrative. And we will talk in details about this, yeah, so because there are also techniques for that. Let's see what else I have. Clear takeaways. Yes, that's also a very important thing, yeah. So what for example, like what is the clear takeaway of this slide? I put it here. What is do the what quality do effective scientific presenter have? Like what universal quality do effective scientific presenter have? That's the takeaway that I want you to take. Is that I want you to know that there are universal quality that effective presenter like would have. Yeah. So a clear takeaway for each slide, and I will That's basically one of the techniques that we will learn. Yeah. So we will learn this technique, how to have a clear takeaway for each slide, and uh, and clear takeaway for the overall goal of what you're doing. Yeah. Now, what else? Clear messages. So we talked about this. So I said like clarity and simplicity, focusing on one or two ideas. Okay, so that's another interesting one, and we will learn about this when we get to slide design and how much material you should be presenting. And but that's also another important thing is that like you just focus on one or two ideas so that you don't like confuse like your audiences. So in the presentations that I give, I was just focusing on one idea, which is modeling of soil respiration. And in order to focus on this idea of modeling soil respiration, what did I do? I just provided all this long introduction to explain what is soil respiration, what is this pop Perch effect or this pulse, soil respiration pulse that we are observing. And then the main idea was how to model this. Yeah. And then I showed how to model this. After showing how to model this, I showed that how certain we are from our models by doing this like Bayesian model evidence. And then I give some takeaway like why this is important. Yeah. So not too much material. Yes, so again, that could be one weakness of the presentations that I gave is that maybe I cover too much material. Like maybe that Bayesian model evidence part was not necessarily. I should have just omitted this and omitted this whole discussion and spent more time focusing talking about the hypothesis and the modeling without going into but getting into these details of the Bayesian model evidence. So that was one weakness of that presentation. Like if I now when I give this presentation this time I learned this. When I do it again, I will properly remove this discussion about Bayesian model evidence and just focus on the modeling part. Yeah. So not too much material. Yeah. Not reading from slides. So that's important. And that is one of the main like presenter centric versus audience centric, and we will talk about this in details why not reading from slides or having too much text in the slides is a very bad idea. And there are some neuropsychological reasons and evidence for that. Yeah. Yes, less text and more visual. So that is another like universal quality of an effective presenter is like less text, more visual. Like, and we will like I will show you like how to do this. Yeah. Uh, and what else do I have on my list? Audience can be engaged with visual. Like that's like one way to engage your audience is through using visuals, and then we will. That's what we will be also talking about, and give audience a chance to digest the information. Like don't go too fast. Like that also was one weakness of the mock presentations that I give is that I was just going too fast to stay within the 15 minutes time slot that I have. So I didn't give you a chance to digest the information. Like how to solve this? Well, in order to solve this, how do you do it? Like how to solve this? That would be that's how to solve this. Here, this is the answer. Yeah, focusing on one or two ideas, not too much material. Okay, so that is like how to solve this. And if I solve this problem and I redid this presentation, I will get like higher rating from the audience. Yeah, that's basically so. These are the universal quality of an effective scientific presenter, and that would be basically what we will be learning in this lesson. I will show you in this lesson how you can achieve this with some two audience-centric techniques that I just mentioned. Yeah, uh, depend on the audience. Yeah, so that is. That's what I mentioned. Like you should like that's another good quality. Depend on the audience. Is that so? Like these are the ones that I mentioned. Yeah, like for effective scientific presenter. I don't know which one you mentioned, but these are the ones that I mentioned. Like enthusiasm, clear message, and depend on the audience. You have a good sense of your audience. Yeah, these were my top three for effective scientific presenter. I don't know for you; it could be different. Yeah, but again it would be something within that list, yeah, or around that list, not something that's not from that list. Okay, so let's so here these are like, if you can like universal quality of effective scientific presenter, like if you could summarize this list. So the first thing is passion, yeah, like let's say I am like a math teacher, and then I am wearing, like each time I go to class I wear I wear a t-shirt related to math. So like 1 over x will give you like this like non-linear function. X squared plus y squared, that's an equation of a circle. Y plus y 1 minus x, I don't know what this will give you, like a v. Yes, that's like I don't remember the name of this function, if you remember. And then 3 sine y will give you this. Then all you need is love, yeah. That will show how much I am enthusiastic like about like the algebra or geometries that I'm teaching. So if I have this passion and I speak with this passion and I come to class with this passion, and you are basically like, think about it, like when you present something you are more like an entertainer, yeah. So if you are a good entertainer, maybe you can take an acting course for it, yeah. And then you will be able to entertain your audience, yeah, and then you will be able to deliver an effective presentation, yeah, and get your audience excited about what you're doing. So the first universal quality, that would be passion. The second universal quality is that you are telling a story. So that is with storytelling, you connect all the pieces together. Without storytelling, it's like the audience is like confused and the pieces in his mind will not fit together and he will not be able to follow with you. He'll be distracted with other things. But if you are telling a good story, the audience will be immersed with what you are presenting and will be engaged with what you are presenting. So that is the second universal quality of a good presenter, like storytelling, passion. What would be the third one? So the third one is the sense of an audience. So I mentioned this one. So I already told you my favorite two, like in the list before. I told you like this one and this one, and that would be like I told you like the third one would be simplicity or clarity, but here, according to this like slides, the third one would be like storytelling. So the sense of the audience, and that's exactly what I want. Like I want, like you want to see, like this is my audience, yeah. Like who is my audience? So if this is my audience, then this is what I want to target, yeah. Uh, all of them should understand like this big thing, or most of them should understand this big thing. Few of them should understand like most of it, and only few of them would understand like the full thing, everything, yeah. So you should have like this sense of your audience, yeah. Like the bigger circles, they should understand like most of your presentation. Uh, like the inner circle, maybe these are like not most, like big part of your presentation. The inner circles, these are the one who will understand like everything in your presentation, and the middle circles, these are the one who will understand like 90% of your presentation. So let's say here they will understand like 80%, yeah. That's and like you go here to the circle like 90% and here like 100%, yeah, what you're talking about. Okay, now uh, now let's here, to be successful, okay. So that's to be successful, yeah. Like let's read what this say. Yeah. To be successful, you need to shift from being like speaker centric to an audience centric. Uh, so what is a speaker centric and what is audience centric? Yeah. Uh, so speaker centric is that I make the slides or my presentation so that it will work for me. It will be easy for me to present. Yeah, that would be like a speaker centric presentation. And audience centric would be the other way around. Like I will make the presentation and I will design my presentation and how I will deliver my presentation, not to make it easy for me to do it, but to make it easier for the audience to pick it up and to understand it. Yeah. So what can you uh, provide, like for example, some example of like speaker centric behavior? Like what would be like some speaker centric behavior? Can you like tell me? I just did one now. Like I just right now I just did the speaker centric behavior, but I mean not fully. Yeah. not audience centric. So speaker centric behavior would be that you have text that you read from. So you will have a text on your slide and then you keep reading the slide. That's a speaker centric. That will work better for you. It's easier for you because you have the material there and you read from it. But that will not work for the audience. And in a few minutes, like in the two next slide, I will explain to you based on some neuropsychological evidence why this will not work for the audience. Again, that is different than teaching. Like sometimes, like when I prepare this slide for teaching, that's different because when I prepare this slides for teaching, I put a lot of text here because I need you to keep this for you as like a future reference so you can get back to it and learn from it. That's one thing. But the other thing is that this this more like a discussion, like we chat and we talk and we spend a lot of time going through all this material. It's not that like 1 minute and move on to the next slide, 1 minute and move on to the next slide. Yeah. So here, what example of like speaker centric behavior? So here, a lot of text and complexity on the slide as notes for me to read from. Yeah. So that would be like speaker centric behavior. What would be another speaker centric behavior? Another speaker centric behavior was I will use like jargon and technical language that uncomfortable for me. So, for example, in this presentations that I give, see, I was like not using the word like uh, what SOC like solid organic carbon or dissolved organic carbon like a lot. I was mainly like for dissolved organic carbon, like even when I use this jargon or technical language, I will say, okay, this is the food that's available for the plants or the microorganism. Yeah. So solid organic carbon, I will say this is like a piece of food that the plant or the microorganism cannot eat. So I will explain, even if I have to use these jargons, because I mean, I cannot go around them. That's what I'm presenting. Yeah. Even if I have to explain these jargon, I would just like explain them with like a simple term. Yeah. So that would be an example of a speaker-centric behavior, is that I just use jargon and the audience don't know what I'm talking about. I had this with one student was presenting in a course and like in this course about like some energy thing, and he will use this jargon that no one in the class understand what this guy is talking about or what this girl is talking about, like or what this sorry lady is talking about. Yeah. So if you are, and then that would be like a comment, that we will give to him that or to her, like please use the language that we can understand so that we will understand your presentation. Yeah. So that's like an example. Yeah. Of when you use jargons. Yeah. Uh, Another speaker-centric behavior is that like you will assume that everyone know what I know, and everyone should know what I'm talking about. So that's another speaker-centric behavior. You should know again, see what your audience know, what your audience don't know, and if there's something that they don't know, then you should explain it to them. And for example, like in that presentation I give, I know some of you don't not know about like modeling and like this is observation data, this is the simulation data, this is how we match them to see if our model is good or not. So I know some of you might not know this. So I explain it to you. So I say, this is my observation data. This is my model simulation. If this model is good, then it will be able to reproduce this observation data. So I will explain something like this to you. Yeah. Um, I know most of you might know this, but some of you might not know it. So I will like I will not assume that everyone know what I know, and I say, oh, these. I mean that, and that's not also a good attitude. That's kind of somehow disrespectful to your audience because you will say, oh, if you don't know this, then you are not an engineer. Yeah, I mean, how come you have an engineering degree and you don't know this or what I'm talking about? Well, I mean, that's not also a good attitude. Yeah. So you should be more respectful for your audience and uh, don't assume that they know everything you know. Yeah. Now, what are other like audience centric, like not audience centric, but speaker centric technique? Other speaker centric technique would be like I would put like details that are relevant to the speaker, but that does not translate or are not important to the audience. So I give an uh, remember when I give this presentation, I talked about like this Bayesian model evidence. Maybe this is part, like this is important part of my research, like how to calculate this Bayesian model evidence. So that was relevant to me, and but that might not be very important to you. Like you will just believe, like okay, by just what you see, this has a bigger, better like matchings, and that might be a better model without going into these details that, oh, this model is more complex, and because it's more complex, then we need to penalize this complexity, and to penalize this complexity we need to use this Bayesian model evidence. So here, that was again one weakness of this presentations that I give, the mock presentations that I give, is that I start talking about details. These details, I'm excited about them, they are relevant for me, but they might not translate to your needs. I should have better used this time to talk about like the implication of my model, and how this model is useful, and how this model can improve like Earth system model, reduce their uncertainty and things like that, instead of like rushing through the conclusion in order not to exceed the 15 minutes. Yeah. So that would be like another audience centric technique. Okay. So text. Okay. Jargons, you assume everyone know, like you say, oh, everyone, you're an engineer, you should know this. Yeah. And then you talk about things that you are excited about, but that they're not really translate to the needs of your audience, like what you want to talk about or what you think is exciting, not what you think is more useful for your audience. Yeah. So if you avoided this, then you will have like not a speaker centric presentation, but an audience centric presentation, which means like less text, no jargons. You explain things clearly, and you talk about what your audience, what's more useful for your audience, and what your audience need, rather uh, uh, than what you like to talk about. Yeah. So okay, now uh, to be uh, audience centric. Uh, So, so to deliver an effective talk, yeah, what you need to know is that you need to be audience centric at every stage where when you select your content, yeah. So when you select your content, you need to be audience centric. You ask yourself, is this content relevant for my audience? Yeah. Is this content uh, my audience will understand most of it? Is this content is what my audience are expecting or would they like to know? So you ask yourself when you select the content. Then when you design the slide. So for example, when I designed this slide, I put a lot of text because as I told you, like when I designed this slide, I put this text because I want this to be a reference for you. Yeah, that's why I put a lot of text. Yeah. But then when you design the slide, like how many slides do I need, and what do I need to show in each slide, and we will talk about this like in detail, and then the delivery, like how I will deliver this. Yeah. Uh, so at each like the delivery, yes, this is like how I will be delivering this, and how I will be explaining this, and what level of details I will be going to, and do I need like to get too technical, or and if I need to go too technical, how could I fix this? So that's what we will be like learning, yeah, in this video, like when we get to the audience centric technique that we will learn. Okay, so the questions that you need to ask yourself really is, what makes sense to my audience? That's the question, yeah. What makes sense to my audience? As if you ask yourself this question and you answer this question, then you will be able to like prioritize the need for your audience, and then that's how you can ensure that you uh, keep your audience engaged. Yeah. Uh, okay. So, but what are the but like before we prioritize the need of the audience, yeah, we need to understand what are the needs of the audience. Like what do audience need? Like when you listen to something, what do you need? Yeah, when you listen to something, you want to learn, you want to understand. That's what you need. You want like learning something new and understanding. So the audience are hungry for meaning. They are hungry for understanding. That's the need of the audience. Yeah, and in order to help the audience to learn and understand, uh, uh, that is like that is one that's like the need of the audience. And another need of the audience is that like you want to see what is important for this audience, like uh, why this is important for them, why this is useful for them. So that is also a second thing that you need to think about it. Like so they need to understand that for sure, but you also need to know like they don't just need to understand anything, they want to understand like some takeaways, some things that are useful for them. Yeah, so that's like, for example, like what here when I design like this content, like what is useful for you? What's useful for you is that you want to learn how to deliver. Like if you have like a 10 minutes or like 15 minutes or like a short amount of time and you need to deliver a very effective presentation to your executives or to your colleagues at work or to whatever, how could you do it? Like what techniques and slide design techniques and audience centric techniques you can use to be able to deliver this effectively. That's what the takeaways that I want you to take from this course, and that's how I design this slide and deliver this lesson to make you by the end of this lesson be able to do this, be able to deliver like an audience centric presentation. Yeah. Another thing is also that's exactly what I just said. Like, so I also want you to be able to not just like understand this or like get this takeaway, but be able to do something with them. Yeah, so you'll be able to implement them in your in this course or in your career in general. Yeah. Uh, okay, so that is basically and this could be like less comfortable for you. Like if you can that is what the audience need. Like no, regardless of what is comfortable for you. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I wrote here. Yeah. Which can be less comfortable for you. Yeah. So it's not what's comfortable for me, but it is like what the audience need. Like I want the audience to learn something and then do something with this information that they learn. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so now the question is like, I want to make this meaningful to the audience. So how to make your content understandable and meaningful to so many different types of people, where expert and people with less expertise are coming. So now that is what I want you. That's basically the objective of like what we will learn is that how to make this content understandable and meaningful to many type of people, like whether they are expert or not expert who are coming to this presentation. Yeah. Okay, so we will learn to make it meaningful for the audience. So that is now you need like to establish like a common ground. Yeah. So common ground, you need to establish like a common ground between you and your audience. So sometimes this common ground is like where you what you will present it will be understood by your audience, but the problem is that sometimes you need to get into technical detail. Like in my presentation I needed to get into technical detail. I needed to talk about like toc not toc, like soc, solid organic carbon, I need to talk about dissolved organic carbon. I need to talk about like enzymes. Yeah. So I need to get to this technical depth. So what does this mean? This means that I can go to this technical depth. So like this is the common ground. This is what we all understand. Then I go to this technical depth. So I can dive to this technical depth. But I should not dive there and just keep diving there all the way until the end of the presentation. That's, remember, I told you this guy who went to this imaginary mathematical space and kept diving there in this imaginary mathematical space all the way and just came towards this common ground at the end. So at the beginning, we know what he's talking about. At the end, we know what he's talking about. Through all his presentation, we have no clue what he's talking about. So if you want to make this dive, this technical depth dive, come out very quickly. So do a technical dive and come up very quickly with a common ground. So how did I do this? So I told you here we have like solid organic carbon, and this is not accessible for plant. So this is not a food for plant, like a piece of wood, like a microorganism cannot eat. Yeah. So I went to this technical detail or technical jargon, but then I came up very quickly. Yeah, to the surface, explaining to you and giving to you, like telling you what does this mean or the relevance of this. So, or you can dive into this technical detail, like talk about like earth system model and improving earth system model and blah blah blah, and then come back to the surface and say, okay, like improving this earth system model is useful because I mean that will help us to make like prediction, and then I connect it to something that you know, like rainfall or sea level rise. Yeah. So I will connect it to something that you know. So that is like basically like one way to make it meaningful for the audience, is that like you establish a common ground. If you want to make a dive to technical detail, do it. Because remember, the audience does not need to understand everything you are presenting, but they need to understand what you are presenting, not everything you are presenting. Yeah. So here, this is like the common ground. You make like your technical dive, and then you come up to the surface, and then you make a technical dive and then come up to the surface, and then like you make like this would be called like a snorkeling statement. A snorkeling statement is that like, so you don't want to be a scuba diver, you want to be like a snorkeler. Yeah. So when you do this presentation, you are not a scuba diver who will just dive there and remain there for an hour like your presentation. No, you dive to technical detail, you come to the surface, so you will say, okay, this is this blah 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 technical detail, and this is what it means. You come back to the circle by, this is what it means, or this is why this is important, or this is why this is useful. Now the audience are not lost. Now they will, like, even if they didn't understand like this technical details, this blah 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 blah, they will understand why this technical details that they don't understand is important. Yeah. So always, so that is the first like audience centric techniques that I want to show you, is that like if you want to make like to dive into technical depths, do it, but come quickly to the surface with a snorkeling statement like, this is what it means, or this is why this is important, or from this we learn that, or this means that. Yeah. So that is the first thing here. Yeah, like a snorkeling statement. Yeah. So this is all what it means. This finding is important because, or something like this. This, the question in this case you can ask is, the next question in this case you can ask is. So this is an example of snorkeling statements that you can do after diving into technical details. Okay. So here, this is an example. Yeah, from the presentations that I give. We explicitly represent the transition of degraded carbon and enzyme between dry and wet soil pore in response to soil moisture exchange. So now I'm diving into technical details, and soil moisture control on carbon degradation of microbial uptake rates. This improves the model robustness in simulating the purge effect. And then the snorkeling statement would be, this finding is important as it shows the importance of dry-wet dynamics when modeling soil respiration. This shows the need to advance current generation of soil respiration models through coupling soil respiration and surface hydrology. So I will go through these technical details. Those who in this field will understand it and will appreciate uh, what I'm saying and will add to their knowledge. Those who are not in this field will know why this is important, because now I explain this is important because we need to tie soil hydrology, no, soil respiration with model with surface hydrology models. That's why this is important. Yeah, something like this. Okay. So craft your message for expert and non-expert to establish relevance. Why this is matter. So this is snorkeling statement will of why this is matter. So the audience can make meaning of this technical detail. You don't just you can present technical detail, but what the audience needs. The audience does not need this. The audience, like most of your audience, does not need this technical detail. Most of your audience needs a meaning. What does this mean? Why this is important? Why this is useful? What we can take from this? So the, to make it meaningful, the audience knows that the audience are hungry for meaning, hungry for understanding, not for technical details. Yeah. Okay, so in summary, the audience value interpreters, not reporters of the work. So that's what the audience will value. They will value if you are an interpreter. So that is a reporter. So the reporter is, this is what I did, here is what I found. Now, this is the interpreter. This is what I did. Here's what I found. Here is why it matters. Yeah. So adding historical statements to be more relevant. So that's like, see, this is snorkeling statement that will be one of these audience-centric technique. Yeah. Let's dive into technical detail, but quickly come to the surface. So we talked about this like snorkeling statement. Let's do another one, which is assertion evidence. So assertion evidence, that's like uh, uh, so is uh, is uh, is another like audience centric technique. Yeah. So another and like this assertion evidence, this has to do with your slide design. Yeah. So the assertion evidence is, which I will explain it to you in a minute. This has to do with your slide design. So so what are like some of the problems of slide design, like that you can go wrong with slide design? So I can again pause this video before we do the discussion. Just answer this question: what are the biggest problem you see with the slide design? So I can tell you already: too much text, too much material, too like small fonts, or like illegible like slides. So that would be like the main like my main concern, like, or my like biggest problem with the slide design. So okay, so let's see what do I have here. So yeah, see, the first one is here: too much text, too much information on one slide. Yeah, that's another problem with slide. Like, you just put one thing and talk about it, like spend your time talking about it instead of like putting too much information on one slide. And that comes to my mock presentation. Like in some of these slides, they have like a lot of material. Maybe I should have reduced. I talked about this before. I should have reduced, maybe talking about the Bayesian model evidence. Yeah. So too much information. Yeah. What is another thing? The slide is so crowded, messy. Yeah. Yeah. Poor font choice, like illegible, yes, or like poor font choice. We will talk about this, or like small font. I talked about this, small and prairie figure, yeah, illegible, like illegible figures, like something you cannot read. Yeah, so that would be the problem of slide design. Yeah, distracting colors, like you could have like a distracting color, spelling, like you have spelling mistakes or typing mistakes. Yeah. And but the most important one, and that's why I'm showing you this slide, because we will talk about this like in the next video. But what I want you to, this one is, this is what relates to our lesson here, is like no idea of what is the main point is. So that is the assertion evidence, that like you should, each slide should have one main point, and this main point you should be clearly state, this is like what is the main point of this slide. Okay, and so why, like before we do this, like let me ask you a question, like why slide design is important. slide design actually they have a much bigger role than what you think uh, they are. But these like slide design, these are like the main tool uh, for delivering an effective presentation, as I will show you now. So I will show you now like some example like of poor slide design and good slide design, and then I will like poor slide design, that would be like a heavy texted slide, for example, and I will show you why this heavy texted slide is not effective. A poor slide design will not have like figures, and I will show you why, like if you don't put like figures in your slides, why this is also like not will not make your message effective. Yeah. So basically, yes. So I will show you like that's what I want to show you. Like I want to show you like how that's exactly like how your slide design could impact the learning and processing of information. That's what your slide designs, they can directly impact learning and processing information. So here from cognitive psychology, uh, I want to show you like how does the brain function and how do we learn. Yeah. So from cognitive psychology I want to discuss like two things like from cognitive psychology. One is called like the cognitive overload, and the other is called like the picture superiority. So what is cognitive overload? So cognitive overload, like in our brain process text and visuals like figure in two different channels in our brain. Like a word is processed in one channel in our brain and image is processed in another channel in our brain. So cognitive overload, this means that like this cognitive overload, this is like the state where the person working, like your working memory is limited. It cannot process too much words at the, like or words coming from different sources at the same time. So let me give you an example. So if my uh, slide like have like too much text, what will happen? Or first of all, before what will happen, before I ask you like what will happen to your audience, I will ask you what will happen to your brain. So your brain can only listen to words, like can only process words that coming through listening, yeah, or words that you are reading from the slide. So which means that like you cannot process both at the same time. Like you can either process, like you cannot, like if two people are speaking to you at the same time, you will not be able to process both of them. Similarly, whether this words you are reading, like if you are reading something and somebody is talking to you, you can either process the words that you are reading or the words that you are listening to. You cannot process two words that are coming to your brain at the same time because there's only one channel for this. So now, if that slide has a lot of text, what does this mean? Uh, this would mean that your brain, like the audience, will be divided into like three groups. One group will ignore the words that you are saying and will just read what is on the slide. That's one group. Another group will ignore the text on the slide and will just listen to what you are saying. The third group, they will be like jumping from here to there. They will be listening to what you are saying and then jumping to read the text and then reading the text and jumping to listen to what you are saying. So that would be the three group. Which group will understand more? The group that will understand more would be the one who will ignore the text on the slide and just listen to you. The group that will read the text, he will lose most of the information that you are communicating in words. The group who are like jumping back and forth will, what will they do? They will be confused. They're not going to understand much. So basically, you are using, I don't know, like two groups of your audience. Only those who would like ignore the text and listen to you, these are the one who will benefit most from this. So to avoid cognitive offload, you need not to have like text like in your slide. Your slide should be text free, and whatever text you want to tell your audience, you should just tell them. Whatever words you want to tell your audience, they should get these words from you, not from reading them from your slide. So that is the first principle. Yeah. What is the second principle? The second principle is called like the picture superiority effect, where we as a people, we turn to remember pictures more than words. Yeah, because pictures, they can be encoded both verbally like as word and visually through our dual coding process in our brain. Like you would remember seeing someone, but you wouldn't remember the small chats that you had with them or the words that you said, but you would remember his face. Yeah. So that is like picture superiority effect. People tend to remember figures. So from my previous presentation, probably what you remember will be the picture. You might not remember a lot of what I said, but you might remember the picture of this dying elephant. That's probably what you would remember most from my previous slide, and how like heredity will like impact animals. Yeah. So that is the picture superiority effect. But also, uh, picture are processed in our brain in two different channels. So if all I am having in the slide is just text, 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 then the text like a channel in our brain will be like cognitively offload, and I will have another channel in your brain that is not used at all, empty channel. So this is like the visual channel in your brain, it will be empty because I'm not showing any visual, and the word channel in your brain, that will be off, would be like overloaded. And we learn best if we can combine like words, not words that the audience is reading, but words the audience is getting from you through listening, with images. And that's how we would learn best. And that's the best way to design your slide, is uh, to have like to less text and more images. And that's based on like cognitive psychology. So this is based on cognitive psychology. So the first principle is like cognitive overload. The second principle is picture superiority effect. Yeah. And that's why they say like one picture is worth like 1,000 words. Yeah. Uh, so let me show you an example. Yeah. So here is an example. Yeah. So you see, so here, let's just read what we did before. Cognitive overload, word, whether written or spoken, are processed in the same channel in our brain. So if I presented this to you, so this is our hypothesis. Remember, our hypothesis is like main mechanism, secondary mechanism, and soil moisture. I removed this text and I was just explaining them. So all you had was just like this green thing, this blue thing, and this one with some dots to help you to visualize it. But I was just explaining this and not putting any text. If that was the case, if that text was there, some of you would be reading it, some of you would be listening to me, and some of you would be jumping, like listening to me for some part and reading the text one part. To avoid this and in order to allow this for happening, I removed all the text. I mean, this is not uh, good for me because now I have to remember this explanation, but it's good for the audience. Yeah. Now, a second thing, like to improve this slide, is that see here the title of the slide is like hypothesis. The second thing is to have this assertion evidence, and that is important part of your slide. So each slide, when you design a slide, you should say, okay, think about the slide. That's how you do it. What is the take-home message of each slide? Not a topic, like not what is the topic of the slide, but what is the take home message. Remember, I'm telling a story, and when I tell a story, it should have a coherent narrative. And the coherent narrative means that, like, each slide, I want the audience to have a take home message to build up knowledge for the next slide. So that is when you do a slide, you don't say what's the topic of this slide. You said what is the take home message of this slide. And this take home message of this slide, you just make it your slide title. What, like, so here, this is the take home message of this slide. How to design slides that are not against how human brain function. So to design a slide that are not against, that is basically like the take home message that I want you to take from this slide. So to design a slide against how the brain function, what do you need to do? Like you should have image, you should have less text, and you should have image, you should have less text, and you should have like a summary, like the take home message of the slide. Like why am I showing this slide? It should be up there, stated at the beginning. So let's apply this to what we have here. So how to do this? Like how to implement what we have just learned. So write a sentence headline that states the main message of your slide. What is it I want my audience to know, remember, and understand? So here, like for this slide, to generate soil respiration pulse, we hypothesize three mechanisms that capture dry and wet dynamic of soil. This is what I want my audience to know or remember or understand. Is that like to generate soil respiration pulse? Like the soil respiration pulse, this is like we have three mechanisms to capture this dry dynamic period. Like the main mechanism, the secondary mechanism, and the soil moisture. That's what I want my audience to understand. So each slide at the top of it, write like the take-home message of this slide. Now, again, the second principle is the picture superiority effect. We learn more deeply from words and relevant image than words alone. Yeah. So we have now we have the words. This is as much text you have. That should be like two sentences. Yeah. Two sentences at the top of your slide. But what would be the rest of the slide? The rest of the slide should be just images. Because we learn more deeply from words and relevant image than words alone. And we talked about the picture superiority effect. So now you see this is much cleaner. So here, to generate soil respiration pulse, we hypothesize three mechanisms that capture dry wet dynamic. And then I put like main mechanism, secondary mechanism, soil moisture, and then I explain them. And then all this will be animated. I even will not show this text, like I will just show this text when I talk about it. So you see this slide, like compares this slide towards the original slide. So if I hadn't taken a lesson like this, my original slide would look something like this. Yeah, not even like this. It would look something. Oops, would look something like this. Yeah. So compare this slide to something that looks like this. Yeah. So now this is audience centric technique. Now this is audience centric because it has like this is the take home message and this is figure. Yeah. So so to recap, what we have done, I talked to you about like two audience centric technique. The first audience centric technique is uh, snorkeling statement. Like if you want to dive into technical detail, but come out quickly with a snorkeling statement. The second technique, audience centric technique, is this assertive, like uh, this assertive evidence that like for each slide, yeah, write the take home message that you want your audience to know. So if you lost your audience, yeah, if you lost your audience and they don't understand what you're talking, then they can read this and then they will keep them to stay in track, will keep them focused on what you're talking about and the main message you want to deliver for them. So basically that is the two audience centric techniques that I want you to learn and to practice. Yeah. First one, if you want to dive into technical detail, come with a snorkeling statement. Second one, put like a take home message here so that like you will keep your audience focused and you will it's basically you're telling here your audience what I want you to learn. What is the take home message? How to do this? So here is like an example. Like so these are different slide design. So here like one sentence headline stating the main take message for the slide, no longer than two lines. And then you put like an image here, an image here, an image here. You're showing like three things. Yeah. Here, one sentence headline stating the main takeaway message of your slide, no longer than two lines, and then one image here, for example. Yeah. So here, instead of having like three bullet points, So that's the idea. No bullet points. Like that's not effective presentation does not have bullet points. Like it will have like instead of having three bullet points, you'll have three image. Here you will have one image. Here like you will have two images. Yeah, that would be like two bullet points. So with with this, I end up like my audience-centric technique, like snorkeling statement and assertion evidence. So that's assertion evidence, like you put this assertion evidence statement and then you do like this picture superiority effect. Next lesson we will learn about like the slide design, like how to select content, timing, and font selection and color plate. So that's all for this lesson, and see you in the next lesson.